Joyce McCulloch. Yeah. You got a yeah. 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 What a band.
What, a band?
Should we take, before I sing a song and bring Nate up, should we take a moment of honor for the greatest harmonica player that ever lived?
Yeah.
Because, you know, Neil is playing the chromatic harmonica, and those of you that know, we just lost Toots Thielemans last week, right? Right? We have a little dedication to Toots.
So last time Toots played, he was 92, and it's online. You can look it up. And they wheeled him out in a wheelchair. He played with Quincy Jones and Kenny Warner and Elegy, Mark Johnson, all the luminaries of jazz who considered him one of the greatest musicians of our lives, not harmonica players. This toy is irrelevant to the artistry of that man, that little old man from Belgium who survived Nazi occupation, came to the U.S., absorbed jazz, taught him, was a guitar player and whistler on Sesame Street, and Midnight Cowboy and a bunch of other things that you probably know, and of course Bluesette. But this instrument didn't matter. He played it like no one will probably ever play it again in the history of mankind, I think. Anyways, when he was 2 years ago, I was just looking at this, and he was weak and frail, but he got out there and he played this, and everybody was crying. Kenny Warner was accompanying him, as he did for the last 6, 8 years. He was crying. And Eleni Liza off stage, made this video clip backstage. She was crying. I mean, he had a wonderful life. He had a wonderful life, a life that few people can say they've had. To come out of poverty, in a little hole in the wall, in Port town in Belgium, Brussels. His parents were poor. His father had a cafe. They'd have an accordion player every weekend, and Toots would stand and look at it, and he picked up a cardboard box and pretended like he was playing accordion. Somebody said to his father, "You have to give that boy an accordion." His first instrument was accordion. And then he played with, before long, he was playing with Benny Goodman. And, I mean, he was studying Charlie Parker when you could not find a Charlie Parker record in Europe. He'd find one and listen to it over and over again. And, you know, those were days when you didn't have, you know, the whole Library of Congress on your belt. So, and he absorbed it and learned it. And he got a gig with Benny Goodman, and then the U.S. tour. And George Shearing hired him, and then just he played with everybody in the world.
give Neil a big hand, and also just the respect. What's really happening with Neil over here is that he's feeling it.
The way us musicians learn to play is not by university or school. We learn from people who came before, who have all the lessons that we need. So if any of us, to a man, have any talent, it's most of it comes from what is passed on to us from other people. So if I play this instrument half decent, it's because of that man who died last week. And every top chromatic harmonica player, and there are only a dozen or 2 dozen in the world because it's such a challenging instrument. Every one of them who I'm in touch with since last week has the same story: personal testimonies, communications, letters, concerts from that one man that resulted in so much music for so many people.
Right.